Glycogen. Glycogen is a reserve polysaccharide in our body. It is a polymer of glucose molecules joined by alpha-1,4 linkages, and branch points are made by alpha-1,6 linkages, mainly found in the liver and muscle. It is made from glucose when there is abundant glucose supply available in our blood. That means after a meal. In between the meals, when the blood glucose level falls down, then the reserve glycogen is broken down to release glucose into the blood system so that a steady level of glucose can be maintained in the body. This is especially important because some organs and tissues can use only glucose as the metabolic fuel. Glycogen is seen in the cytoplasm in the form of glycogen granules. From this picture, you can see it very clearly. The large circle seen in the center is the nucleus. Outside that, small dark granules, just like mustard particles, can be seen. The synthesis of a new glycogen granule begins from a protein primer molecule called glycogenin. So glycogenin is a protein. Protein is made up of amino acids. One of the important amino acid in this glycogen is a tyrosine. To this tyrosine residue, the first glucose is added. And whenever a glucose is added to an existing glycogen molecule, the free end is the non-reducing end, which means carbon number 4. That means carbon number 1, the reducing carbon of the glucose, is added to the existing end of the chain. So always glycogen molecules have only non-reducing end present. The reducing ends are always engaged in bond formation with the previous sugar molecules. In this diagram, what you see as primer is actually the part of glycogenin, and second tier, third tier, fourth tier, etc. are long chains of glucose molecules joined by alpha-1,4 linkages. At the junctions where a new branch is formed, the linkage is alpha-1,6. Look at the detailed structure of glycogen. You can see alpha-1,4 linkages for the elongation of the chain and alpha-1,6 linkages for the branching. You can see that linkage where the green colored molecule is joined here. And both the tips are non-reducing, which means carbon number 4 is at the end. And where should you see the reducing end? Practically, there is no reducing end. Why? Always carbon number 1 is engaged in bond formation. And the reducing carbon number 1 of the first glucose residue is bonded to the protein glycogenin. In some books and in some figures, you may see that there is a reducing end. That is wrong. Don't believe it. Glycogenolysis. Breakdown of glycogen. The enzyme is glycogen phosphorylase. The enzyme removes glucose residues as glucose 1-phosphate from the non-reducing ends one by one. And from where is the phosphate obtained? It is not from ATP. It is merely from inorganic phosphates. So remember, the product formed in this reaction is not glucose. It is glucose 1-phosphate. This glycogen phosphorylase enzyme is an allosteric enzyme, which means its activity is modified by regulators. This enzyme normally exists in two forms, phosphorylase A and phosphorylase B. Phosphorylase, when in the A form, is the active form and it can act upon glycogen to release glucose 1-phosphate. When it is in the B form, it cannot act on the glycogen to produce glucose 1-phosphate. Both these forms, phosphorylase A and phosphorylase B, can exist in two states. The R state, which means relaxed states in which they are functional, and the T state or tensed state in which it is not functional. Phosphorylase A, which is functioning, is usually in the R state because the equilibrium is promoting or it is inclined towards the relaxed state, while phosphorylase B is usually in the tensed state because its equilibrium is favored towards the T state. That means phosphorylase A is in the R state and it is functioning. In muscles, a higher concentration of AMP or a lower concentration of ATP transforms phosphorylase B into the R state, and in the R state phosphorylase is transforming itself into phosphorylase A, which means it will be functional and act upon glycogen to release glucose 1-phosphate. Glycogenolysis takes place in the liver in order to release glucose to the circulation so that the blood glucose level can be maintained. Therefore, glucose is acting as the modulator. Here, a higher concentration of glucose already indicates that glycogenolysis is not required. Therefore, when the glucose concentration increases, it binds to the phosphorylase A in the R state, thereby transforming it into the T state, which means more glycogen is not going to be broken down. And when the glucose level decreases below a certain value, phosphorylase A in the R state is favored and it acts upon glycogen to release glucose. Glucose 6-phosphate is an intermediate in many metabolic pathways. You have seen earlier that it is an intermediate of glycolysis. And in liver, glucose 6-phosphate is transformed into glucose by means of glucose 6-phosphatase enzyme, thereby increasing the concentration of glucose in the blood. While the same glucose 6-phosphate is also entering into pentose phosphate pathway. While in the muscle and brain, this glucose 6-phosphate enters into glycolysis for the releasing of energy. How is the branch point of a glycogen removed? Look at the glycogen molecule in the uppermost figure. It consists of two chains. The upper chain is bonded to the lower chain by means of an alpha-1,6 linkage. You may look at the pink colored glucose joined with the lower chain. Then, as usual, glycogen phosphorylase enzymes remove glucose 1,6-phosphate molecules one by one until 4 glucose residues are remaining after an alpha-1,6 linkage. Look at the yellow colored glucose residues 3 and pink colored glucose residue 1. Then comes another enzyme, debranching enzyme. This is a 2-in-1 enzyme, which means this enzyme has two activities. In the first activity, there is the transferase activity. 3 of the glucose residues from the alpha-1,6 bonded glucose are transferred from there and added on to the non-reducing end of the other chain. Look there in the figure, 3 yellow colored glucose residues are removed and added on to the lower chain. Now the lower chain is longer and the pink colored glucose is remaining there, which is bonded to the other glucose by means of alpha-1,6 linkage. Then comes the second activity of the debranching enzyme. It is glucosidase. This activity removes that alpha 1,6 linked glucose freely as glucose, not as glucose 1 phosphate. Now we have a long chain of glycogen which is acted upon by the glycogen phosphorylase enzyme as usual. The same slide given earlier, but this is from another textbook and the color of the diagram is different, but idea is the same. Glycogenolysis in the liver. You know that glycogen granules are present in the cytoplasm, therefore glycogenolysis is taking place in the cytoplasm. In the liver, glucose 6-phosphate is formed by the isomerization of the glucose 1-phosphate in the cytoplasm. From there, this glucose 6-phosphate is transported to the endoplasmic reticulum by means of GLUT1. What is GLUT1? Glucose 6-phosphate transporter 1. You can see that one on the membrane of the ER. Inside the ER, this glucose 6-phosphate is acted upon by glucose 6-phosphatase, which is bound to the membrane and removes the phosphate. What is the other product? Glucose. This glucose is again transported out of the ER by means of GLUT2 into the cytoplasm, and from the cytoplasm across the plasma membrane into the bloodstream. Thus, concentration of glucose in the blood increases. I told you earlier that glycogenin is a protein that has a dual function, two functions. Function 1, it is the primer molecule upon which the first glucose residues are added. Function 2, it is an enzyme that catalyzes addition of the first 8 glucose molecules to itself. First of all, the first glucose residue arrives and it is added on to the tyrosine residue of glycogenin. Remember, carbon number 1, the reducing carbon of glucose is added to the tyrosine residue of glycogenin, and the enzyme is glycogenin itself. Thereafter, 7 more glucose residues are added in the same manner. In all the cases, enzyme is glycogenin itself. Now, how many glucose residues are added in the chain? 1 plus 7 is equal to 8. Remember, all these bonds are alpha 1,4 bonds. There is no branching. Then only the activity is taken over by the other enzyme which is responsible for synthesis of glycogen. That means glycogen synthase. During the synthesis of glycogen, the glycogen synthase enzyme or glycogen in itself accepts glucose from a donor, from a high energy donor only. The donor is always UDP glucose. What's the structure of UDP glucose? Look at the figure. It consists of a uracil. You have heard of the same nucleotide in RNA also. Uracil bonded with a ribose sugar. Now it is uridine. The ribose sugar has 2 phosphate residues on carbon number 5, which means uridine diphosphate UDP. On the second phosphate, a glucose is attached, UDP glucose. This UDP glucose is the high energy donor of the glucose residues during all stages of glycogen synthesis. During glycogen synthesis, UDP glucose adds its glucose residue to the existing end, non-reducing end of the glycogen residue such that a new non-reducing end is formed. Always the newly formed end is non-reducing because carbon number 1 of the new coming glucose is added to the non-reducing end of the existing glycogen residue. The enzyme catalyzed in this reaction is glycogen synthase. How is the branch point created during the synthesis of glycogen? Initially, the glycogen synthase enzyme creates only alpha 1,4 linkages. That means only straight chains are formed and no branches. Then comes the glycogen branching enzyme. What this enzyme is doing? It is cutting a segment of glucose residues bonded by alpha 1,4 linkages, and one of the glucose residue at the reducing end is bonded to the fourth glucose residue from the cut point at carbon number 6 by means of alpha 1,6 linkage. Look at the figure here. From the glycogen core, you count the first four glucose residues. First one is not a shaded one. Then second, third and fourth are shaded yellow. From there is the cut made. Then it is bonded to the glucose residue which is labeled as the glycogen core on carbon number 6 forming an alpha 1,6 linkage. From that carbon, glycogen core glucose, how many glucose residues are remaining towards the left side? The three yellow shaded glucose residues. That means a long stretch of unbranched glucose residues is cut off and is bonded by means of an alpha 1,6 linkage to the fourth glucose residue from the cutoff point. Now a branch point is made and both the ends of the chains are always non-reducing ends, and again glycogen synthase enzyme can add new glucose residues towards both these ends of the glycogen chain. Glucagon and adrenaline are two hormones which are responsible for increasing the rate of glycogenolysis. How do they function? These hormones have their receptor located on the plasma membrane of the cell. This receptor has three regions or three domains. The outer domain is projecting from the plasma membrane into the extracellular fluid. It is meant for the binding of the hormone. Then there is a domain that is passing through the plasma membrane, and the third domain is projecting into the cytoplasm. When a hormone is binding to the domain outside the plasma membrane, its cytoplasmic region is binding with a G protein. Initially the G protein was there, but it was bound with the GDP and it was inactive. But when the hormone binds with the receptor, the G protein is bound with the GTP and it is active. This activated G protein in turn activates an enzyme bound with the plasma membrane. The G protein actually activates the cytoplasmic domain of this enzyme. And in most cases, the enzyme is adenylate cyclase, which is responsible for the conversion of ATP into cyclic AMP. The cyclic AMP is a second messenger, as is evident from the next slide. As we saw in the previous slide, epinephrine is a G protein coupled receptor. Epinephrine is binding with a receptor which is coupled with the G protein. When the hormone binds with receptor, it activates the cytoplasmic site, and this in turn induces the G protein to bind with GTP. Now the G protein is activated, which in turn induces conversion of ATP into cyclic AMP by adenyl cyclase enzyme, which also is bound to the membrane. This cyclic AMP is a second messenger. It activates protein kinase A. This protein kinase A has two functions. Function 1, inhibition of glycogen synthesis. Function 2, promotion of glycogen breakdown. How do the hormones activate glycogenolysis? As we discussed earlier, the hormones bound to the extracellular part of the receptor. That G protein coupled receptor is activated. Adenylate cyclase produces cyclic AMP. The cyclic AMP activates the protein kinase A. Protein kinase A has two functions. Function 1 activates phosphorylase kinase. Function number 2 inactivates glycogen synthase. The activated phosphorylase kinase converts phosphorylase B into phosphorylase A. Already we found that phosphorylase A is the active form and is responsible for releasing of glucose 1-phosphate from glycogen. This is how glucose 1-phosphate is produced by breaking down of glycogen. Here you can see the magnitude of increase of the activity of glycogen metabolism due to the action of the hormones. From the slide, it's very clear. One molecule of cyclic AMP can activate around 10 protein kinase A molecules. Before that, you have seen one adenylate cyclase can lead to the production of around 20 cyclic AMP molecules. So you multiply 10 times 20. That many protein kinase A molecules are activated by the binding of one hormone molecule to one receptor molecule. And each pKa, protein kinase A molecule, in turn can activate around 100 molecules of phosphorylase kinase molecules. Each of these phosphorylase kinase in turn can activate around 1000 molecules of glycogen phosphorylases, and each of the glycogen phosphorylase can lead to the releasing of around 10,000 glucose 1-phosphate molecules. We can see how many times is the activity magnified from a single hormone molecule. Glycogen phosphorylase is inactivated due to the allosteric binding of glucose and also due to the activity of insulin. Remember, insulin is responsible for removing glucose from circulation. Glucose is activating glycogen synthase A in order to remove glucose from circulation by the synthesis of glycogen. At the same time, glucagon and epinephrine are inactivating this glycogen synthase A. It's very clear, insulin and glucagon are antagonistic to each other.